Commence primary ignition.
I'm just not the hero type, clearly.
What a piece of junk.
Enterprise, this is the captain.
I got a bad feeling about this.
It's all part of the plan.
Engage.
Welcome back to Podcast 2 for 1. I'm your host, Donovan Thompson, with my co-host,
Daniel Wingfield.
And today is episode 136 of Podcast 2 for 1. Today we're talking about the premiere episode of Andor. No, not the first 3 episodes like everybody else is doing, because that's lame. We're talking the very first and only the first episode of Andor.
There's too much to talk about.
There really is.
I mean, how are these people are just glossing over, just so many details.
Yeah, we're giving you the meat. We're giving you the meat and the bones and the potatoes of episode 1, and not just these. Yeah, exactly. And a dessert. If you didn't know, we are sponsored by Kapow Comics, located at 4047 East Hill Avenue in Sherwood, Arkansas. They have comic books, collectibles, graphic novels, and of course, special guest appearances throughout the year. And if you haven't, please hit that subscribe button and notification bell. That way, you have to on all future episodes of Podcast 2 for 1, as well as all the cool content we have at 2 for 1 Studios. YouTube.com/2 for 1 Studios, the best place to consume the content. Daniel, we're talking Andor, episode 1. I think, whenever the big thing about Disney's acquisition of Lucasfilm and Star Wars franchise, there was kind of like a big, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? And they kind of right out the gate announced, okay, we're doing a new trilogy, episodes 7, 8, 9, right? And we kind of all loved that with the idea that we would have the original cast back at the time.
Sure.
We like that part of it. And we like, they're going to do practical, we're J.J. Abrams, and we could probably do this.
Right.
And then, we got Force Awakens, and then also they were kind of announcing at the same time we're going to do potentially these one-offs. We're going to do, at the time it was like we could do anything. Darth Vader, we could do Han Solo one-off, all those kind of things. Obi-Wan Kenobi, and now that we've seen the dust settle, Obi-Wan Kenobi ended up going to Disney Plus, and we ended up getting the very first Star Wars story, as they call it, in Rogue One. And I think that out of all the Disney things that's come out since then, besides Mandalorian, but like in the early days here, when it was kind of still like, we don't know if we like this or not, and then we really don't like this with Last Jedi, and then it was like the fan base was imploding on itself.
Yeah, right.
I think everyone was in agreement, and I could be wrong, but I feel like everyone loved Rogue One. And I know some people had issues with it, but I think overall,
there's a small pocket of people that just actively, not even like think it's okay, but actively think it's bad. And I don't understand those people. Like, I'm not sure what those people are wanting from it.
I can understand there's like some pacing issues with like collecting the band of heroes.
I think the first act is really rushed, and like it takes 20 minutes for the movie to feel like it's got its footing underneath it.
Right.
We're not just
exactly right there.
Rapidly through different locations and absorbing like tons of information,
But I do think it's a movie that by the time you get to the end of it, you're like, okay, this is pretty great.
It's maybe got the best emotional punch of like any of the films. I would say Revenge of the Sith. It definitely rivals it. I think obviously the Return of the Jedi and Luke and Vader it's a nice moment. But it also is just a little bit, even just in the acting styles, a little bit old school. And I think with Rogue One, I think especially, if we're talking about, just getting into the plot, the fact that all of the main characters died in the mission. And I thought even just being willing to do that, I think elevated the gut punch even more. But yeah, I think as far as like emotional impact, as far as connecting to the characters on screen and really loving all of them. I mean, I really loved the whole like kind of team, the whole like squad that they were a part of. But I think Rogue One is the movie out of all the Disney movies. It is the movie that knows exactly what it wants to be the most, right? I think with the sequel trilogy, with Han Solo, with even a lot of these Disney Plus channels, it feels like there's too many cooks in the kitchen, right? There's too many visions that are competing, and so you've got kind of half-baked ideas paired with other half-baked ideas, and it all just doesn't feel very satisfying. And a lot of that is like what we talked with Obi-Wan, where it's like, what is this show for us? Is this show for adults or kids? Because it can't decide, and it's really struggling to do both. It's not doing either one. I mean, maybe it's doing well for the kids, but yeah, I feel like Rogue One knows exactly what it wanted to be. It knew exactly what kind of story it was telling. And I'll say, just getting into Andor, that's the impression I'm getting, from episode 1 is this. We have a deliberate story we're telling. I feel like the world building is really strong. I really like all the characters. The acting, I think, has been really strong across the board. Mm-hmm. I feel like sometimes we get those. Sometimes there's certain characters in the new Star Wars stuff that feel just out of place. I mean, just Kumail Nanjiani in Obi-Wan never felt realistic to me.
Damn, I forgot about that.
Right, and then even the lady that's the techie on Tatooine that keeps reoccurring. She's sounds
awful.
like a Disney character.
She seems like a sweet person in real life, but I hate that character.
She's not. She doesn't feel real. She doesn't feel like she belongs. She feels like she belongs in a Disney theme park. That's what.
Yeah,
she
exactly.
And that's probably their point, But I will say that this show, all the characters seem real, like real characters in their world. We've only seen Bix for like 2 scenes, but I already like her. She's already got a really nice chemistry with Diego Luna, with Cassian, and I am on board. I think I'm excited to see what Andor does.
Yeah, I was going to say, from Rogue One, we got some great moments, and I think coming from that, everyone, the movie follows Jen Erso, right? Felicity Jones' character. But then Diego Luna, who is our Cassian Andor, he was the second protagonist. He's kind of like the guy who he's almost where Jen Erso's path. It's like he's the end path to like her journey, like that kind of, what I'm saying? Like he's kind of representing where she could go, I think. Yeah. And I think everyone, including myself, they loved him and they loved his relationship with K2SO, which is Alan Tudyk, who's also awesome.
Yes.
And I think everyone really liked that character. And I'm not sure that we anticipated a potential TV show or a movie based on him, but I'm glad we got it. And I think the big thing too is what's hard about any type of prequel situation. And this goes from like X-Men to, I'm trying to think of the prequel movies,
Star
but
Wars.
Star Wars is that you already know the outcome. And specifically with this one is that like everyone dies. So you know his journey already. And that's a really hard needle to thread in terms of why do I care if I know that he cannot survive the Battle of Yavin. And so I think that it's really hard to do, but I think it's a testament to so far the show is that they're just such good actors, yes. And I think it looks great too. I think it's wild. It's wild how we were so in love with the volume in the beginning, and I feel like my love has waned a little bit. And I think that the volume, which is the VFX studio that Mandalorian has used, and now other things like the Batman came out earlier this year, it also used the volume.
Yes,
but I think that there is limitations to even the volume now, and I think that you have to use it in very specific ways to achieve what you're going. Like the Batman does it very well. It's mainly just for background, like sky background in terms of like they're really close up to the camera and it's like out of focus sky, right? It's really smart. I just don't know if you can do it for every single thing because it kind of it only really works if you're using it's almost like for wide shots almost and not so much for close-ups. And because I don't know, it's interesting, but I think it just feels different. Like I don't know, even maybe it's just our brains telling us because we've read these articles and that kind of stuff. But I feel like Andor feels different than just even Obi-Wan. And maybe Obi-Wan is like Obi-Wan and Boba Fett are maybe the two culprits here, and not Mandalorian. Maybe that's the issue because Obi-Wan feels like it's the worst of those four.
Which isn't that sad? Isn't that the worst? Like.
Yeah, it's got moments like the area where they're in with Kamino Jolly, like that's it feels populated. It feels like a star.
They're in Tatooine.
The planet with like the rain and like the concrete and when he's first meeting Kamino Jolly. But I think it's just Tatooine. That's the problem. It's Tatooine, and Boba Fett was always on Tatooine. So that's the issues I have with it. But
I think in Andor, you're getting like shots that are just tone shots, right? Like we have that shot of the lights going by that like is a long take that slowly turns. And then we see I think like this feels like you got a good cinematographer with a good director, and y'all like planned some good fucking shots. This is what this show feels like. Y'all had a shot list. Obi-Wan does not feel like it had a shot list.
It doesn't. No.
It feels like it was shot for coverage, mostly on a green screen, other than a couple of the environments you mentioned. But I feel like we never got these like beauty shots, right? Like this shot doesn't aid the story. It's just to look pretty. It's just to give some tone, to what we're doing. It doesn't have any narrative purpose, right? And
I don't know. I think that's maybe the difference actually between Obi-Wan and this is that like look just in the first episode of Obi-Wan, right? We have the scene where he is a butcher, and you have the awful, I don't know, Southern actor guy. Yeah, I'm not saying it's his fault, but it's like you're butchering whatever the dialogue was. It was not great. We talked about it on the Obi-Wan Kenobi episode, but like stuff like that where when you have the dialogue, I mean the show looks fine, right? But it's not great when you have dialogue like that, and you're basically showing us scenes that aren't narratively interesting, then it kind of pulls you out of anything that could potentially be good about it. And also it's like, I don't know, does it make sense? Like it's like the narrative is influencing like the cinematography, right? And it's kind of like, well, this is like a lame scene, and we're just shooting it for cut. Like we're just shooting a normal shot of it, but like. Exactly. In like Andor, it's like tone related, but also the tone is part of the narrative of this. It's like it feels like it's underground and like the belly of the resistance.
Honestly, tone should be a part of everything. It's just different tones, right?
100%. Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're absolutely right in that. Like every shot in Obi-Wan was plot related, right? It was always to just show the action, to show the actor saying the line, right? And you're right. We got these scenes that set him up that are just like. It's kind of telling it is technically showing, but it feels like in just this kind of on the nose telling kind of way. And I feel like, I think what you've got in Andor is you've got them taking there's what looks like vanity shots almost, like a cinematographer saying, "Hey, this looks really good. Can we just do this shot and make this get in?" Like I just feel like there's a creative touch to Andor that is like we don't just want to like tell a story or just be super plot related. I just feel like there's a mood and a tone to Andor that you're right is influenced by the cinematography that just feels more focused and purposeful than any. I would say say Mandalorian is pretty close.
I think my fear of saying that is, and I could be wrong, but my fear of saying that. They're just like, hey, let's just get this shot because it looks cool. I feel like it's almost like, I feel like it's intentional. I feel like that it was like, it's planned. I don't feel like they just like, this, and maybe it was partly that, like, hey, this is a cool shot. Since we're here, it's practical. You know what I'm saying? Like we can actually move the camera around and see it. They can see it in real time in the volume too. But I don't know. I feel like it might be disingenuous a little bit to say that it wasn't planned in the fact that, I don't know.
Yeah, that wasn't, sorry, I miscommunicated. I wasn't saying that. I was saying that like when they planned, when they designed their shots, they went for what's the coolest fucking way we can show this shot.
Or what's the coolest way we could tell the story. I think that's a better way of saying it.
Sure, okay. Either way. Okay. But I'm just saying, like, semantics. I was saying, like, it felt like when you sit down, we've done it, when you sit down with a cinematographer, when you're going through a shot list, there's always the OTSs that are just, okay, throw a couple OTSs in there, wide shot, we need an extra wide, a couple close-ups, and like,
throw a couple of OTS. Done. That's how I talk to my cinematographer. Throw a couple OTSs in there. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, mix it up, shake it well.
I guess so, yeah.
And versus, sitting down and saying, okay, what is... And often this is probably an issue of time and budget, right? That
sure.
Andor's been in production a while. Right.
Since Rogue One, it feels like.
Yeah, and so they have had a lot of time to
which was 8 years ago.
Out. Wow.
Yeah, I know.
They've had all this time to plan it out, and maybe this is just like this is what a show looks like when they have plenty of time. That a Disney Plus show. I don't know, because Obi-Wan felt like it was like out the door in 6 months or something. You know what I mean? Like
they shot it during COVID's like last spring, and then they did. This has been shooting for like. It was shooting before Obi-Wan, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I thought it was shooting before Mandalorian.
At least before season 2 started, yeah.
Yeah, at least that.
Yes. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, these are. I feel like how long are these episodes? The first
one was 40.
What is cool is that Tony Gilroy is writing these too, which he is the guy. Him and I think Gary Whitta.
Yeah. And I'll say.
Yeah, Tony Gilroy. Yeah, so he helped with Rogue One also. He also wrote the Bourne trilogy. You know what I'm saying? So like.
I think you feel that. I think you feel that in the writing of I think the dialogue. The dialogue has been like I'm a picky person. When dialogue comes off ham-fisted, when it doesn't sound realistic, it pulls me out so hard. That's like one of the things that pulls me out of a movie really quickly. And that didn't happen at all. Like this whole thing, these people talked like real people, or at least real people in a Star Wars world, but like, you know, it just felt very natural, and how they reacted to each other felt very natural, and just I will say, you know, this first episode had a lot of talking. And
it did. It's a slow burn. Maybe that's why I haven't watched all of episode 2 yet. I mean, like,
yeah, I mean, there's action in the first 10 minutes, kind of in the setup scene, and I'll say it's a good setup scene. I liked it a lot. I think it really
tells its character. We've really done a good job of not explaining anything of the show. Of like,
well, you should have watched it if you're coming into this. To be fair,
of the plot, you know, or just we're being very, very, you know, vague. This was great and that was great. That's not our, you know, that's fine. But I will say this is that what's interesting is that originally the show was billed as 5 seasons, from what I understand. And since the show starts out as 5 years before the Battle of Yavin, which is Rogue One, right? That's typically they were going to do a year a season. It's like every year would be a season leading up to that. So I think we lost the showrunner to the Americans, which is a big loss, in my opinion. And I think that, and plus Diego Lugo was like, hey, Diego Luna, I can't do 5 years of this, especially since season 1 took fucking forever. He was like, I have a family and I can't be gone this long. And they're like, okay, so they kind of condensed the idea. So I think now we're going to get like 1 or 2 or 3 years in just season 1 alone. And then season 2 will be wrapping up. And season 2 will be wrapping all that up. It's very like Game of Thronesy or House of Dragon, where we're kind of time jumping now, which is like I feel like this is a newer concept that I haven't seen a lot of things do lately. But I feel like we're getting it. Maybe it's just because it's close together with House of Dragon. I'm feeling that way, but
no, I mean, I think there's something to be said of House of Dragon's format, and I would love to dig into that once we talk House of Dragon season 1, which will
I'm dying, dude.
In a few weeks.
Dying.
That season's almost over, so that'll be exciting. Yeah, I think that's interesting. I wasn't aware that it was going to be kind of time jumping. That's even kind of especially interesting when you consider how kind of slow and how much little happened in episode 1. Right?
Yeah.
That if they're going to be jumping around so much, and that, I'll be honest, that does slightly make me nervous. Just, I mean, anytime we're condensing things, I'm like, that oftentimes means we're getting rid of good setup and like the satisfying parts of the arcs that make the ending good. You know what I mean? Like that's what gets lost a lot, unfortunately. And so that does worry me slightly, but I'm since The Mandalorian, I think I'm the most optimistic about a show after episode 1 with this than I've been since Mando season 1. Probably.
That's
like Mando season 2 I was in from episode 1. You know, Mando 1 I didn't know. And so episode 1 it was like I'm in, and you know what I mean? And I will say I was in harder. Mando had some better action, you know, there was some more just like
Mando
badassery in that, you know.
Yeah.
But I think this is second. This is where I'm like, okay, I'm in. Like you didn't and that's something. And this is a slow episode, had a bunch of talking, a bunch of exposition, and it still drew me in. And I think that's a testament to the quality of the writing and acting.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think just even touching upon one scene, the scene where he's in the alleyway with those two guys. Yes. I think just like the shot design, I think his acting. I mean, like Diego Luna he's just a great actor. Like he just always, just with the subtle, just the small phrases he says, he communicates so much. And those guys they got, even just for those two people who died that didn't have a huge role, they kind of nailed that part perfectly.
Nailed it.
I think the only, you know what I'm saying, the guy who's kind of on the hunt for Andor, he seems a little more kind of, he seems more Star Warsy than he does kind of like Diego does. But like,
I agree. He's a little,
a a little General Hux, a little bit.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
Cartoonishly evil, or a little like how he like yells at people and like is like.
He kind of even looks like General Hux, honestly.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
maybe
I agree. There's some similarities.
So maybe he's his grandfather or something. But you never know. But anyway, I just I'm in for it. I'm enjoying it. I need to carve out some time. There's just so many shows right now.
Yeah,
House of Dragon,
wow.
Lord of the
Isn't
Rings, She-Hulk, which were our boy Matt Murdock is around the corner, and then like we got so much stuff happening. So I'm glad we're going to catch up and then and talk about more shows.
Yes,
which is kind of the thing we do.
I will say, I just want to point out that like I really love on the world building side getting to see this like corpo world kind of thing. For one, I mean, they keep saying corpo, and I've been playing Cyberpunk, and it's kind of throwing me off. But but like I think it's really cool seeing like this. Like they're a company that isn't they're working for the Empire, but they aren't the Empire. And just seeing this kind of different side of the galaxy and that's just good world building to me, right? We're just seeing a world that it was not one we've seen in a movie. It feels like a different part of the galaxy than we've seen in pretty much all of these shows up to now. And that is also exciting for me. I like that a lot.
No, it is. I think one of the things that a lot of people didn't like at the time, but I think if you're a Star Wars purist, you end up either loving immediately or you loved in time, like I did, which was the politics of the prequel trilogy. And I'm hoping we kind of get some of that and kind of see some of the, what's the world look like when you're not following the Jedis of the world with the birth of the Empire, right? Or I guess this is closer to the fall of the Empire, but this is still kind of like, it's closer to the fall. I guess we're a little over halfway through their reign. Can I ask
you a question real quick? How do you feel about the tribal stuff? Like the backstory.
Oh, the flashback stuff.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it so far. I mean, we're only one episode in. I will say that I'm okay with it. Even though it is like it's not Star Warsy to do flashbacks, right? We did get a little bit of them, I think, in Force Awakens, we did. Like the first time ever, I think, was when we saw Luke and Leia flashback. In not Force Awakens, in Rise of Skywalker.
Yes.
But I'm okay with it so far. I don't know where they're going with it. If it's a huge, I don't know. We found out. I think before we started recording, there's 12 episodes, and these are kind of longer episodes already. Like they're like 40 minutes, right? So far, closer to an hour maybe.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of episodes, and so I'm curious. I don't know where it's going yet, but I'm down for it. I mean, what's your thoughts on it?
Well, at first I was just I'm overall fine with it. I think I did it kind of one of the second or third flashbacks. I was like, I don't know if we've ever seen tribal humans in Star Wars before.
Tribal humans.
Wookiees are kind of tribal. They live in trees a little bit, but like I think this is the first time I can remember like seeing like a pre-technology human society anywhere.
You're probably right. Yeah.
Which is just interesting. I mean, I think you're right. In like at first I was like, is it feel weird having this? I mean, like I think it's world building wise, it's easy to assume. Yeah, there's probably plenty of planets that are in like early stages of like development or like humans or species.
There has to be,
but once I realized it was like, oh, that I don't think we've ever had this in Star Wars before, and I think it's okay. I think I agree with you. It does feel a little bit not Star Warsy. Just the fact that he grew up, I guess, without any technology feels a little bit just not the Star Wars that we've seen before, and maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, I don't know yet. When I did see him and we were in the flashbacks for just like a minute or so, I did get the feeling like, oh man, I hope this isn't all the time, and I hope it actually goes somewhere. Yeah. And I think it might. I know that like most of the reviews I've seen so far is that they're pretty slow these first 3 episodes, but it really picks up towards the end of those first 3, and it kind of hits the ground running. And we're already like in I think 5 or 6 here at this point. Yeah. So we got a little bit of catching up to do, but I'm curious. Yeah, 5. So I think 6 is 5 is yesterday. Cool. Damn, yeah, 12 episodes. That feels like a lot, actually.
Especially if they're all around 40 minutes to an hour. That's a lot of content.
It will. The last episode will end on our 3-year anniversary, actually.
Wow.
Interestingly.
That is poignant.
It is poignant. 3 years, Daniel. 3 years. Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens. I guess one last thing I want to ask, and we'll get off here, is there's some rumble and tumble on the interwebs as always. I think I'm not sure it was in episode 1, but it happens at some point in the show. I think one of the characters says shit in it, and like they're like, in some moment they're saying like, move that shit or something, and it's like everyone's like, whoa, why are they saying human cuss words? Like, why didn't they say like bantha or puta or something like that? Do you think that the show, you know what I'm saying? Is
like that doesn't pull me out. I mean, like, I think
okay, I was curious.
To me, that's nitpicking. I guess, like, I'm trying. I mean, like,
because there's never been cuss words, like human
they
cuss
say
words.
Hell. They say hell in A New Hope. I think. Pretty sure Han says hell.
I think so. Right. Is that a cuss word?
Maybe well, it was to me growing up.
I know. Yeah. I
know. But so was butt. So that's the context. Yeah, no, that doesn't bother me. I mean, I think sometimes when they do that, it feels too forced. Like when they just sub like a word just to make it feel different, just to be like right. I feel like, no, what they said shit. Okay, like I guess that just doesn't bother me.
Sure. Well, I guess the fear there is that kind of like, you're starting to you're changing the rules of the universe, and you're also like, I mean, and part of it is like, look, you have it's like Marvel, right? I mean, I think even though the prequels in the original trilogy, they are pretty different aesthetically and even tone wise and everything, but I think he does a good job of kind of bridging that towards the end of episode 3. But there is a fear, like in Marvel, like we're seeing right now, is like you're having all these different sects of the universe, and they're not being totally consistent with the universe as a whole, right? To be fair, the Star Wars universe, I don't know if it feels bigger than Marvel anymore, because Marvel is so. I don't think it is anymore. It feels kind of small, because also we keep revisiting the same goddamn planets every time, so it feels pretty small. Yes. But yeah. So I don't know. There's always that fear, I guess, of diluting the world, or not even diluting the world. Just it feels not that cohesive, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm just expecting that. just with how, I mean, I think that's going to end up being what it is, because it's much more easy to make a bunch, like massive amounts of content, if you don't have to worry about that. And I just think that is Disney's priority over making. I think at the end of the day, they want to make money, and at the end of the day, the money decisions usually rule out the creative decisions. Seems to be from the outside looking in. And
I gotta say that I don't really feel. Maybe I'm just being deluded. Like I don't know, man. I'm not sure it's what's going on, but I'm not feeling super excited about Star Wars. Like, I mean, I'm not excited about Mandalorian. I mean, I love season 2. I mean, I love Mando, but I'm not excited really about season 3. I'm not. I mean, Ahsoka Tano, like I mean, I want to see that like day one, but I'm not like excited for it. I think because I don't know, I'm just not. Like to me, that's like the big two things that are happening, and we don't feel like we're getting any movies anytime soon, and we don't feel like. And to me, the movies are kind of where it's at, But
I mean, Star Wars is. I mean, the cinematicness of being in space and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I feel like sci-fi is a genre that is so great.
Well, there's also something just about getting popcorn and going to a big movie with Star Wars fans. That's a thing,
I mean, I think you're right. They don't have. I mean, I'm sure there's stuff they haven't announced yet, or like they've announced things with like no names on it or something. But like, it does feel like. I mean, the last few shows have been okay. You know what I mean? Not great. When you're at least thinking Obi-Wan and Boba. Yeah, I'm interested in Mando season 3, but at the same time, like, I feel like we kind of know what that show is now, and we just know what we're gonna get out of it. So it doesn't feel new or like I'm down. I'm gonna watch it, but it's not like I was
more. I mean, I was more excited before that Mando episode of Boba Fett. Like, I mean, I think that. Even though I love that episode because I love the Mandalorian, I was like, I feel like you did the whole season 3 arc in this one episode. And
it definitely felt like they didn't like where season 2 left off, so had to find a way to like start season 3 in a different place. And I feel like season 2 now is just like it doesn't matter. Like not real. Yeah, exactly. It feels like a fake choice. It just feels
It really does, and like it was so good. I mean,
it was good.
And season 2 is like one of the best Star Wars things ever, in my opinion. And it was like
it's really
it was so
movies.
good.
Yeah,
and it was just like they just kind of took they pussied out, and they were like, you know what, let's just you know, I don't which kind of blows my mind because Jon Favreau wrote that, and he wrote season, you know, he's writing all Mandalorian.
Yeah, but I mean that could be a decision that came on from on high. Hey,
it could
Baby Yoda is the highest selling piece of Star Wars merch we've had in 3 decades. He's not leaving the show. He has to be in a show.
There was a way of doing it though, where he could have been in the like you could have had the B plot of the show be Luke and fucking Baby Yoda, and then you build up to Baby Yoda coming back.
You're right. You're right. No, you're
and
right. You're right.
And that's called like narrative. That's like a nice narrative progression. You know, like what's the show when they're apart? You know, now we won't have that. You know,
well, like end of season 2 was bittersweet, and now it's not. Now it's
not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
The thing is too, like you have to watch that episode, or you'll have no idea what's going on in season 3 of Mando. Like it's tucked into another show, and it's like it's basically Mando 2.5.
It is, yeah. No, you're right.
Anyway,
yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I hope that they announce some big feature series. Like I still am really wanting to see what Rian Johnson would do with his trilogy all on his own. I think that could be cool.
You know, he keeps even recently with his Glass Onion, sweet title, his Glass Onion press tour, and he's, you know, they're saying like, yeah, I still want to do it if I have the time, you know, and Kathleen Kennedy's kind of like always like, yeah, we still want to do it. He's got to get through the Knives Out universe, and I think you're right with a clean slate, new characters, he could do a really great movie.
Come up with ideas. He's not having to follow up someone else's ideas or. Yeah,
you're staying in a box, and I would too. Yeah, which is a testament to like even though people were divisive on that movie of how good of a filmmaker he is.
There's going to be a lot of just vitriol that comes out if those movie comes out, but
100%.
That's just the internet. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. No. Anyway, Daniel, how can our listeners write into us?
Listeners, you can write into bit.ly/2for1mail. Let us know what you thought of Andor episode 1. Is it tickling your fancy, as they say, or is it not connecting with you? Let us know at bit.ly/2for1mail.
And if you can't ever Bitly, you can always find us in the comment section below. youtube.com/2for1studios, the best places to consume the content. I couldn't get through it. Of course, we're on all podcast services like Apple, Google Podcasts, and Spotify, and all the other ones. Don't know what their names are, but we're on there. And again, we just ask you that you subscribe and hit the notification bell. It means a lot to us, and it helps people find the channel, and it helps us continue to grow. It hasn't stopped us from recording every week, but it would be nice to feel the subscriber count tick up every now and then. But yeah, so we appreciate it. Daniel, I look forward to talking about She-Hulk and more Andor, House of the Dragon, Lord of the Rings, all these things around the corner.
So much.
There's so much happening at the moment. I'm kind of ready to get back to like
coming out in like a few weeks.
And Black Adam. Black Adam's in a couple weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, which we have to talk about that one. Anyway, I'm excited to do all the things. So my name is Donovan Thompson.
I'm Daniel Wingfield.
And we have spoken.